Hello, hello, hello. Hope you all are doing amazing. It's Margaret Mastery, your heartfelt CFO. So excited to be here with you this week. I don't know if a lot of you are noticing the temperature change outside. It's really, really exciting. It feels like it's like the topic of conversation. It's kind of like, did you guys get wind that it's really warm outside? So if you are tuning in on the replay or if you are live, please feel free to put on the comments and say hello. I'm really, really happy that you are here. And we have such a great and exciting topic today, uh, probably relevant to tax season in a lot of ways, but also always looking to shift around the dynamic of around accounting and tax. Because I always say to people, it's like, I know I'm not the first thing on people's mind to wake up in the morning and be like, hey, I want to talk to Margot around my tax problems. Let's jump in to today's topic, which is the financial decision that quietly changes how CEOs lead. If you are here or wherever you are when you are watching this, I'm curious what's running through your mind on really what could actually change, these quiet little steps along the way that really changed the paradigm. I know it did for me, but just stay tuned to what's actually happening in your mind as we walk through this week's topic. So in case you are new to my channel, welcome. If you have been here, welcome back. Just to share a little bit about me, I'm a CFO and tax strategist, and I've learned that most accountants never talk about the money and emotions around things. Business ownership can be emotional, and the stories that we shape around things really help around and make every decision. I built Heartfelt CFO to replace the fear of clarity with clarity, make calm, grounding decisions, and build strategy that actually works for your practice. My goal is to help mental health owners along with professional service-based business owners, primarily in the real estate industry, to gain confidence, alignment, and really trust your decisions to go above and beyond. And what I say this to say is that at some point in businesses, every CEO runs into financial decisions that makes them stop and think, am I really ready for this? And I've even been there myself, hence of why HCT is built, and it's part of our structure and our really goals and purposes of leading in this industry at this point. So early on, a CEO's focus is really about clients and revenue, building the offer, hiring and operations, and marketing growth. But the architecture of the firm usually comes later. And there seems to be this over focus on these areas. And it's more about where you are in the trajectory than really realizing what it's actually meant to happen. So let's dive in. The hidden financial gap. Most successful businesses operate for years and they really have this reactive way around financial decisions, unclear profitability or even visibility, tax planning that happens only at filing, financial reports that rarely are interpreted. So the common feedback I always get is kind of like, hey, I got the reports, but I don't even read them. Hey, I got the reports. I don't even know what they mean, Marco. Or there's the reactive part of kind of like, oh my damn, this is happening, that's happening. Like, why is that happening? Or it's kind of like, I can't believe this happened, this, that, and the other thing. Where I want to shift this is that figuring out where you are and or just aligning where you are so we can take this to the next level. So revenue may grow, but the financial clarity lags behind. It's kind of like until we're ready, when we're ready, instead of looking at this as kind of like, I decided I'm going to be vegan. So what's the big deal? I don't eat meat anymore, right? It's the same thing with money. I don't want it to lag. What's the big deal? I want to know what's going on with my money today instead of this like unconscious thing that's been happening in the sidelines or in the background. So more than a decade ago, I faced a decision similar to this, but my business was growing, but my structure wasn't. And it was kind of like going the opposite direction, right? Who could think of the cartoon character where they did that, where it's like the opposite way? I forgot about that when my kids were small. Hopefully, if you guys remember that, I want you to tell me. I'm actually going to look it up after this session, or maybe I'll ask my kids. So, a tax advisor, so let me tell you what happened to me. I was at the point where I knew what my tax balance was, and my tax advisor at the time, he recommended restructuring my business, implementing proactive tax planning, building financial system. And when he told me the cost of $5,000, I was like, are you crazy? Like, it was months of money that I had to put together that I was like, really? Is that really happening? Like, what? And at the end, it was almost like too good to be true what he told me, which was like I was going to get money back after telling it to him, but it still required this financial output of giving him the $5,000. Now, I look at it and I was like how is this even possible? And I was at the part of my career where a lot of the things where I learned in textbook, it was a matter of implementing it into my life. So I had a decision to make. I had a choice, but I made the choice to stay where I was in default. I didn't choose to take this $5,000 restructuring. That moment wasn't about taxes. It represented a shift from reacting financial events to designing financial outcomes. And I decided to react because I didn't pay him the money. And a lot of us get that choice, and where we see it's kind of like, I'm not going to pay for that. I'm not ready. I need to get ready. But what if we think about it is let's decide our financial outcomes so that we're back in the control seat. We're in that power. Okay. So let me say that again. When we get to design our outcomes, we get to design the power of the outcome that we're getting. Many CEOs experience this shift only when the decision is forced. So when back to my case, I still had to pay that tax balance. But you bet your damn sure is that same day, I somehow magically, even though it put me into a hard spot, I made sure that financial advisor of mine, that tax advisor at the time, got his money because I was like, I'm not doing this again. What a ridiculous choice. However, from that point on, you know what happened? I never looked back for myself, and I got to help thousands and thousands of people upon in my career and my business for that same shift. So you see, my heart ended up shifting my life in unlimited ways. And until today, that same shift, when I'm in front of it, I'm like, that crossroad, you ain't going to get me. Because if it got me, I'm going to go back into reacting to my financial events. And I don't want to react because the more I want to build and grow and the business grows, my structures have to grow with it. So we get the choice. So now I paid that self-employment tax, I paid that tax balance, and I paid the design. So I was feeling the pain at the same time of so many different years simultaneously. Reactive finances versus designed finances. Reactive financial management. Taxes addressed once a year, and then we're expecting the whole year to just happen in that one meeting. Profits determined after expenses, right? So we're looking at what happened, and it's kind of like it already happened, and we're trying to think of like shoulda, coulda, woulda, but you're not in control anymore then. It's done. Financial decision made instinctively and limited financial forecasting because it's done. There really is no forecasting. And I'm going to tell you a story. I think it was this week. Wait, no, today's only Tuesday. So it was last week, okay? Working with a client. And now when this client started, he was about 3 years behind. Now he's on time for taxes. And I said to him, hey, client, like, you're on time. Like, imagine this, like all of the space, because he shifted his meeting around things because like he was running his business. So he did the business plan. His business plan is working for him. He like killed it in the business plan with us or with me. And then his tax plan was working for him. So his tax meeting ended up being like 10, 15 minutes. We were like joking around at the end. And he was like, oh my God, we're done. But not only God, it was done, it was also that his business was working for him in the current year. So he was able already to predict. He wasn't living in the 3 years behind it anymore. And he was killing it in life. It was really cool to see this. And I say this to say is when that time opens, opportunity comes in. And the opportunity that comes in, like he started to name all of the things that was happening for him. And it was like business opportunity, connection, partnership, like all of these things together. It was just like, it was like a magic miracle in like all together. It was the coolest thing. But let's say you're designing your finances. What happens now? Proactive tax strategy, like we talked about with Mr. Client of ours, intentional profit structure, right? We did that through the business plan together where we started to really think about things. And one of the big shifts that he talked about in there was really about the his pricing. His pricing. It wasn't even the other thing I was thinking of, but it was really his pricing. He was undercharging for himself, and he had all these like balances, these beliefs that were like counter killing themselves, like even like not even contradicting themselves. They were literally like killing each other of like growth backwards, growth backwards, growth backwards. Like they were literally like just eating it. And when he realized that, he was like, "What am I doing?" Now you get to model the decisions before they happen, right? So it's kind of like if you pre-think how it's going to happen, it's like instead of 14 step, it's now into like 4. It was really, really cool to see. And clear financial systems brought him to his ideal client. He knew who was his no client was. And I say this to say is that the no client is more important than the right client, because lots of times we're at the crossroad when we want to make more money and there may be business opportunities that are coming in, but it may not be right for us. So then it stops you in a different way. And I'm going to tell you a story. So right before this, I had an appointment and she was telling me around different business opportunities. And these other ones that she wasn't in control of was controlling her income. It was actually killing and leaking her profit. And you know what happened? It's like, as she was saying it out loud to me, and she's like, I need to learn to say no. She's like, this is not opportunity. This is like death of business. Like, so as you grow, the proactiveness of thinking of things ahead along with tax strategy. So now we get to link together the growth and tax. It's not just around paying taxes, the growth, it's a monster amount of profit and visibility, and all of these different things now happen. So the cost of reactive financial leadership, unnecessary tax exposure, inconsistent profitability, decision fatigue and spending, limit strategic planning. I remember when I was in decision fatigue around spending, and like it was killing my energy. And I was like, I didn't really do anything physically. Like I started to look back at myself and I was like, I didn't really do anything physically that should have that. And when I realized where it was coming from, like the mind of things that was taking a toll, I was like, damn, this has got to go. So the business grows when the leadership remains financially certain. The business grows, but leadership remains financially uncertain. So what we want to do is find a way to create certainty in our structure. So the cost of it is uncertainty, and we want to move to certainty. Okay, the CEO financial leadership shift. Understanding the profit structure, managing financial systems, planning tax exposure, aligning financial decisions with strategy. It's really that easy. From operator to architect. Let's design your finances and taxes together for growth or optimization. Optimization is just not marketing, it's also the money that you make. So it's keeping more in your pocket. So let's keep this slide as your system and as your go-to method of when you're thinking of is how can I shift to make finances better? Like literally fall in love with this slide because it's like just perfect. So here are the 3 areas that are common: profit structure, compensation, and tax. So profit structure, knowing how much you make; compensation, knowing how much you make, like for you, the owner; and tax strategies if like long-term planning, positioning, and entities, and more. There's so much that I can do for tax, but lately I've learned with clients is that the simplicity from bookkeeping into 3 areas, it literally like shifts like 40% savings at least. So not only does it cover our fees, it also just gives you back money that was like free money that you were already making without making more. The psychology shift. Financial clarity does more than improve numbers. Fewer reactive decisions, more strategic confidence, calmer financial conversations, and predictable planning. My favorite part is predictable planning so that you're not worried of like the shoulda, coulda, woulda, and you get that leadership consistency and you're not in the friction. The pattern I see with CEOs is that across industries that the turning point often begins with a single decision: leadership, hiring, restructuring the business, investigating and strategic planning, implementing financial systems. So when we do all of that, just take a load and just see where you're at here. Relationship for CEOs. Consider these questions. Where are you with financial decisions? Are you still reactive? Do you clearly understand your profit structure? Is your tax strategy proactive or annual? Are financial systems supporting your leadership? I want to take the word proactive in a different way. You're making decisions every day. Your shift and tax has to come together, because when it's separate, your profit becomes less and less, and then the tax bill becomes higher and higher. Sometimes the decisions that reshape leadership don't look dramatic. They look like the moment that CEOs choose to stop reacting and begin to design it. I want to help you design this together, no matter where you are at. Go back and work with the different slides here where we can see where you're at, and come to the calls with me, even like with a little bit more clarity than like, Margot, I don't know, like what's the next step? It's more about, I want to get ahead of the game to grow and not just think that taxes is this demon and making it that business is impossible, because the possible is possible. And let's make the business finances designed for confident decisions, clarity, and not reactive. And I say this to say too, is going back here a little bit, is that keep the psychology shift in terms of your focus, so that taxes and business, whether you want to add more real estate development, you want more time with your family, whatever it is. Like, notice this, today's like March 10th when I'm recording this, and I'm not even worried about the season. Why? Because how our clients are adapting mentally of the psychology shift is in the present time. So things really pretty much are running on board. And for the ones who don't, we totally take them along this journey and help you in a financial leadership in a different way. And I say this to say is that I love what I do. I want you to love what you do, and that's why we're here. So I really invite you for a call with me. Don't hesitate to take my time. Worry if you're too big, too small, too this, too that. It's perfect. If you are here, you're part of the community, you're following, I invite you for the call. I cannot wait to help you talk more and see where we can lead you to a new place. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to talking to you soon.